Silence has a weight. It presses down, a physical thing, accumulating like rust. I feel it in my very core, a cold that has nothing to do with the rainwater that pools around me. I am no longer silver, no longer bright with the promise of movement. I am a dull shadow of myself, coated in the grime of the street, nestled in a shallow grave of asphalt and forgotten things. My world is a pocket of darkness, punctuated by the indifferent rumble of passing cars, their headlights sweeping over me like the searchlight of a god who has long since looked away. Each vibration is a ghost of the purpose I once had, a faint echo of the hum I used to command. The rain is a cold, persistent whisper, washing away the last traces of the hand that held me, the warmth of the palm, the nervous sweat of a final decision. It tries to clean me, but it only pushes me deeper into the grit, baptizing me in oblivion. I remember a different kind of darkness, the soft, worn fabric of a pocket, the gentle jingle against loose change, the comforting proximity of a house key who knew the same door I did. Now, my only companions are a crushed cigarette butt and a decaying leaf, each telling its own story of being discarded. But it is the sound of an engine, distant and fading, that truly haunts this place. It is the sound of departure, the sound of an ending. It is the sound of him, and with that sound comes the memory, sharp and jagged, of a hand closing around me, not with the casualness of routine, but with the finality of a man gripping the edge of a cliff. That sound, the low thrum of a distant engine, is the key that unlocks me. Not a car, but my own memory. It pulls me from the cold gutter and back into the warmth of his trembling grasp. The final night. It didn't begin with a shout. It began with a silence so profound it was louder than any argument. I lay on the small wooden table by the door, a silent sentinel in the charged air. For months, I had felt the change. I had been the fulcrum of their shared life, the instrument that started their journeys together, to work, to the coast on weekends, to her parents' house for holidays that smelled of cinnamon and forced smiles. Her hand, when she picked me up, was always light, her touch absent-minded and soft. His, once firm and confident, had become hesitant, tense. He would grip me in the ignition as if trying to wring a confession from the metal, his knuckles a stark white against the dark interior of the car. The space inside, once filled with off-key singing and laughter, had become a vacuum. The only sounds were the clicks of the turn signal and the quiet hum of the engine, a mechanical heartbeat in a dying body. I remember fragments, not words, but the tones that carried them. Her voice, once a melody, had become a series of sharp, brittle questions that hung in the air like ice crystals. His answers were low rumbles, the sound of a storm gathering on the horizon, full of thunder he refused to release. "Don't understand why," she would say, her voice thin. "Just need space," he would murmur, the words dissolving before they could ever form a real reason. I felt the lie in his grip, a lie he told himself as much as he told her. The past was a sunnier place. I remember the feeling of the sun on the dashboard, the windows down, the wind carrying the scent of salt and summer as they drove toward the ocean. I remember being tossed onto a beach towel, sand grating against my teeth, while they ran into the waves, their shouts joyful and distant. I was a witness to the small intimacies, the shared glances in the rearview mirror, the way her hand would rest on his knee as he drove. I was the first part of their home to greet them, the click in the ignition, a promise of arrival, of sanctuary. But the sanctuary had been breached. The silence of that last night was the culmination of 1,000 unspoken resentments. I saw him from my place on the table. He moved through the house not like an owner, but like a thief, his movements quiet and deliberate. A bag packed, a last look at a photograph on the wall. He didn't slam the door. The click of the latch was soft, almost polite, deceptively gentle for such a violent act of severance. Then his hand found me. It was not the familiar, casual scoop. It was a desperate snatch. Cold sweat made my metallic skin slick. He didn't jingle me. He held me tight in his fist, concealing me as if I were a weapon. He walked to the car, and the short distance from the front door to the driver's side felt like a mile across a desolate landscape. He slid me into the ignition. The fit was perfect, as always, but this time it felt different. It was not the beginning of a journey. It was the execution of a plan. He turned me nervously, as if the road ahead was a sentence. The engine didn't roar to life. It awoke with a sigh, a reluctant accomplice. The headlights cut through the suburban darkness, illuminating a path away from everything he had built. He didn't look back. I felt it through the steering column, through the very chassis of the car. A relentless, forward-only momentum. He drove for hours. The city lights bled into a smear of orange in the rearview mirror, then vanished. The highway was a black ribbon, unwinding into nothing. There was no music, only the hum of the engine and the rhythmic thump of the tires on the pavement, counting down the miles from his old life. At some point, just before dawn painted the sky in bruised shades of purple and gray, he pulled over on a desolate stretch of road. The engine died, and the silence that rushed in was absolute. He sat there for a long time, his breath fogging the cold air. Then, with a sudden, convulsive movement, he pulled me from the ignition. He held me in his open palm for a moment, a glint of metal in the faint light. I felt the cold morning air on my face for the first time. Then, the world spun. I was airborne, a tiny, useless satellite cast out of its orbit. The flight was brief, a silent arc through the air before the hard, shocking impact with the ground. The sound of the car door closing, the engine starting again, this time with a roar of finality, and then the sound of it driving away, leaving me behind in the growing light. My purpose was to turn, to connect, to begin. Now, my purpose is to lie still, to remember. The rain has stopped, and a weak sun is beginning to warm the asphalt around me. I am an artifact of a single, irreversible moment, a relic of a departure. My teeth, once so precise in their mission, are now clogged with dirt. My connection to the engine, to movement, to him, is severed forever. I am the key to a car he will never drive again, the key to a home he will never return to. I am a small piece of metal, heavy with the weight of a promise he couldn't keep. Humans think of journeys in terms of distance, of miles on a map. I have learned that the longest journeys are the ones taken inside the heart, from one decision to the next. Some roads don't lead to a new place. They simply lead away from an old one. He used me to escape his life, and in the process, he ended mine. He turned me once. It was enough.